back to Blackgirlcinema. It's your girl Odie, and today we're going to talk about the Nina Simone biopic, Nina, starring Zoe Saldana and David Oyelowo. Now, let me preface everything that I'm about to say in this video by letting you all now know my relationship with Nina Simone and why you're going to see so much passion in this video. As a child, I had a lot of struggles, a lot of problems with my skin tone, with being African, with so many other things when it came to appearance and blackness. And when I got older, it began to affect my self-esteem. Sometime in high school, I came across Nina Simone's music and I began to study her. And I found out things about her that helped me to embrace and accept my dark skin tone and my being African. All of these things, made a huge impact on the woman that I am today. She is like top 5 important and influential people in my life. So much so that I have her picture framed in my bedroom to help me to always remember that I need to accept myself and love myself and embrace who I am as a black woman. Now, you're going to see a lot of passion in this video, like I said, but please understand that it comes from a point where this is someone who I look up to, who was influential to me, and who I really cherish and appreciate for who she was as a woman. Now, let's get into the film. First of all, the director is Cynthia Mort, who has no notable films to date. No even good films that I've even heard of. She started this process of directing this movie or writing this movie in 2010, and originally Mary J. Blige was actually supposed to play Nina Simone. Now when I heard that, I was kind of like, I don't get the correlation, but maybe she's not actually playing Nina Simone, maybe she's playing someone else. Somewhere around 2012 they switched. Mary J. Blige, she got out of the project and Zoe Saldana was taking her place. And at this point, I was like, no. And guess who else was saying no? Simone Kelly, who is Nina Simone's daughter, her only child, who of course handles all of her affairs right now, now that she has passed. And if she was saying, I don't think this is a good idea, I think she knows. She knows the things that her mother instilled in her about blackness, about, the situations and the troubles that she went through as a black woman, and, being called ugly, being called too dark, saying her nose was too big, her lips are too big. These are all the things that she's going to remember that her mother said to her. So, of course, she's going to say, I don't think my mother would approve of this. Cynthia Mort said, I don't care, this is what I want to do, I'm going to continue doing it. Despite Simone Kelly saying, I don't think this is a good idea. So, moving on to Zoe Saldana. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say she's the best actress, and I'm not going to say she's the worst actress. A lot of people's defense of Zoe Saldana was saying, oh, well, she's a good actress, she can pull it off. That's not my issue here. I love Zoe Saldana. Well, I loved Zoe Saldana. Now, Zoe Saldana went from being, I'm Latina, I'm not black, to, I'm a woman of color, so I deserve to play this part, to, I wasn't right for this film, I wasn't the right choice for this film, but neither was Elizabeth Taylor in playing Cleopatra. I'm going to tell you where you messed up with that, sis. I'm going to tell you where you messed up with that. Now, I'm going to play a soundbite from the Atlanta Black Star where they put an interview with Zoe Saldana and an interview with Nina Simone side by side, explaining to people who still don't get it why she was the wrong choice for this film. So listen up, and I'll be back with you in a second.
Why am I so insistent upon giving out to them that blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture? I think that's what you're asking.
It's preposterous. To me, there's no such thing as people of color.
To me, we are the most beautiful creatures in the whole world, black people. So my job is to make them more curious about where they came from.
I feel that as a race, that's a minute problem against the problems that we are facing as just women versus men. I literally run away from people that use words like ethnic.
More curious about where they came from and their own identity and pride in that identity.
I find it uncomfortable to have to speak about my identity all the time when in reality it's not something that drives me or wakes me up out of bed every day.
That's why my songs, I try to make them as powerful as possible, mostly just to make them curious about themselves. We don't know anything about ourselves. We don't even have the pride and the dignity of African people. But we can't even talk about where we came from. We don't know. It's like a lost race.
So as you heard in the soundbite, we have Nina Simone talking about why it's so important to identify with blackness, why being ethnic is important, why being African is important, why seeing yourself as a person of color is important, and that was her whole mission and her drive in her life, in her career, in her music, and everything. Then we have Zoe Saldana, who is there saying, I don't like saying women of color. I don't like saying people of color. I don't like the word ethnic. I don't like concentrating on blackness. What? Now, keep in mind that this was an interview for the Star Trek film, but they asked her about her choice and her decision to play Nina Simone. And she got so defensive, saying, well, I don't think it's a big deal. Sis. You are about to portray someone who is everything about blackness. Everything about her had to be black. Everything about her was important to being black. She made a promise to herself that she was never going to dilute her blackness for everybody. And here you are saying being black is not even important. We don't need to talk about it. We don't need to think about it. We don't need to identify as it. How are you going? That is so contradictory. How are you going to portray this woman and you don't even agree with her lifestyle? It makes no sense to me. Excuse me, had to calm myself down. It makes no sense to me. I don't understand why you feel like you get to do this. You deserve to do this. It's okay for you to do this, and you disagree with everything that she thought of. I don't get it. It makes no sense. So when I first saw shots of this set, of her on the set, I was furious because the prosthetics was crazy. She had on a fake nose. They put this really dark makeup on her, and I was pissed because I was like, this doesn't look anything like Nina Simone. So, you know, a year had passed, you know, after 2012, or it's like 2013 now. I didn't hear anything about a trailer. I didn't hear anything about a release date. So I said, you know what? Maybe Simone Kelly got a chance to sue Cynthia Mort. The movie is never going to see the light of day. Oh, well, I can move on. I can still like Zoe Saldana until September 2015 when they said, oh, the movie is coming out April 2016. I was pissed once again. And Twitter, in its crazy fashion, as always, was in an uproar. Some people are saying Zoe Saldana can play whoever she wants to play. She's black and Latino. Who cares? It's not a big deal. Blah, 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 blah. It's a big deal to me. Because Nina Simone was all about her blackness, and Zoe Saldana is not. Like I said, the last time I heard from her, when she had an interview with Latina magazine, she definitely said, I'm Latina, I'm not black. Granted, your skin tone is telling us something different, but whatever. You want to identify as Latina? More power to you, sis. Do your thing. But how do you go from that to saying, I deserve to portray a woman who was everything about my blackness? How? So, moving on, I'm going to get into the film, and everything that I'm about to say, it is based on my feelings as I was watching the film. I paused and wrote stuff down. I'm not going to give this film a grade, just going to let you know, because it doesn't deserve one. I'm going to be completely honest. But I'm going to be real, because I was a Nina Simone fan. I am a Nina Simone fan because I identified with Auntie Nina, because Auntie Nina helped me through so many issues and problems throughout my life. Now, the film concentrates on about 2 to 3 years of her career. Mind you, she had a 48+ year career, yet we're only focused on 2 to 3 years. How does that happen? How is this a biopic? Somebody help me understand. I don't get it. The beginning, we see a little girl who's playing Nina Simone at a recital. This little girl looked more like Nina Simone than Zoe Saldana did. And I don't understand how. We chose this girl because she looks most like Nina Simone, but we chose Zoe Saldana because why? We have no reason. Moving right along, I just need to know who did the prosthetics for this film. They looked terrible. They looked horrible. She didn't age throughout, whether it was flashback interviews, flashback scenes, no matter what. She ain't look nothing like Auntie Nina. Nothing like Auntie Nina. I don't get it. The prosthetics was terrible. Even if I was okay with the blackface, even if I was okay with us using prosthetics, at least let them look good. Because she ain't look crap like Nina Simone. I'm sorry. Now, this film starts at the end of her career. No rise to fame. No, we didn't add any of the things that make Nina Simone who she was, to help people to understand how great of a woman she was. You're pushing to do this film because you feel like it's so important to tell her legacy, to show her legacy, and you're not even showing her legacy. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? My next gripe about the film, which of course came in the beginning because pretty much the first scene after the little girl scene is her singing. And I noticed that the person singing isn't actually Nina or anybody who sounds like Nina. It's Zoe Saldana. Now I'm going to give her props. She can sing. She has a nice voice, but she doesn't sound anything like Nina Simone. She didn't even try to make her voice low. She didn't even try to make her voice have the intonation that Nina Simone had. My whole thing about it is everybody knows when you hear Nina Simone's song, you will not get her mixed up with anybody else. There are some people, sometimes you're like, is this Bessie Smith or is this Billie Holiday or is this Lena Horne? You can get those people mixed up, but you cannot get Nina Simone's voice mixed up with anybody. But in this film, Nina Simone sounded like a mid-range Toni Braxton. What's the point? We got mid-range Toni Braxton singing Nina Simone songs. You don't get the feeling that you would get listening to a Nina Simone song, listening to any of the songs while watching this film. It's just like covers, and it's not powerful. They meant to make it powerful, but it's not powerful. And you know why? They couldn't even use Nina Simone's voice in any of her music. You know why? Because Nina Simone's estate wasn't with it. Simone Kelly said, yeah, I ain't using none of my mom's stuff. Sorry, not sorry. The opening scene of this film was Nina Simone as a child at a recital demanding that her parents sit at the front row of her recital. There's a whole lot of white people. She's playing for them, but she's asking for her parents to sit at the front. Now after that, her parents end up still sitting in the back, and then she starts playing the piano, and the very next scene, she is performing a song after she's already released probably about 15 albums, and she's already well known, she's already a star, and we're all sitting there like, how did she get here? How did this start? This is not a biopic. And one of the most important things to realize and know about Nina Simone is that she never set out to be a singer. She never set out to be a singer. So in the first scenes, that's the most important thing that you would need to know about her. That she started off wanting to be a pianist. And after getting rejected for just playing the piano and needing to make money, she started singing. And that's part of her rise to fame. This is not a biopic. I'm going to give you a perfect example of a biopic that didn't start off just with the person being a child and moving forward. Ray. Now, Ray does not begin showing every little step from when he was a small boy to, when he rose to fame. We had flashbacks. We had things that help you understand how he got from point A to point B. We have no idea how Nina Simone got to where she was in this film. You see things that happen, but you have no idea how she became so popular, how her career started, none of that. And that is a problem for me. The second scene after the child scene is from 1988. For God's sake, do you know how much happened in Nina Simone's life and her career before 1988? How did we get here? It makes me so angry. How did we get here? The next scene after that 1988 scene is 1995. How? This is like within 10 years of her death. How did we get here? It doesn't make any sense. I do not get it. To me, it was just a bunch of bullcrap. It was bullcrap. As the film goes on, I could tell that they were concentrating so much on her, no bullcrap. She didn't take no mess. Auntie Nina didn't take no mess. She honestly did not. And it's crazy because they show her like that, but they don't tell people how she got there. First of all, she suffered from bipolar disorder. Something that they barely even touch in this film. And when they do, I doubt anybody could actually understand it or know it. And people forget that she had been married, and her marriage, she was in a pretty much an abusive marriage. She was dealing with a lot of postpartum depression after she had her child. She was dealing with so many different things that added on to the situation that she was going through, everything that she was going through in her life. And they don't even talk about it. They don't even mention it. Nobody says why Nina became the way that she was. They just show her as this angry person. These things are important to who she was. These things are important to how she lived her life and why she lived it the way that she did. When she talks about going to France and even being in France, she was in France most of the movie. Nobody tells why she says France is better. There was a lot of things going on with her that made her want to go to France, and a lot of that had to do with after the civil rights movement. And we don't even know that she was involved in the civil rights movement throughout this film because they decided not to put it in there. And then again, it was before 1988, so who cares? It's not important. Nobody even realizes and even knows her push. I am getting upset. I'm sorry. Nobody knows her push for doing things for the civil rights movement, for being involved in the civil rights movement. These things were important to her because she wanted to make sure that she felt something when she wrote lyrics. This is what made her feel like herself. This is an important part of who she was as a black woman. And we don't even talk about that in this film, and it makes me upset because it's very essential to who she was as a woman. I am not going to cry. We're going to keep on going. We are missing so much of what made Nina Simone significant to her time, significant as a woman. They just portrayed her as crazy and selfish and rude and arrogant, all of these things that, yes, Nina Simone acted out a lot. You can read her bio on Wikipedia and know that she acted out a lot. But we don't even know why she felt the way that she felt because Cynthia Mort decided it's not important to this script. You claim to push this movie because you want to show her legacy, and you're missing all of these things. If I watched this film, I would not want to know who Nina Simone was. If I watched this film, I would not want to go listen to her music. If I watched this film and I didn't know anything about her, I wouldn't want to care of nothing about Nina Simone. And that is why this film is wrong. That's why it's wrong. There were so many inaccurate explanations. I wanted to feel something. She had friends in the civil rights movement. One of her best friends was James Baldwin. We don't even hear nothing about that. One of her best friends was Richard Pryor. You barely hear about that. So many inaccurate explanations of who she was as a woman in this film. When I think about it, Mike Epps' impersonation of Richard Pryor was probably better than this entire film. And he was probably only in like 57 seconds of the entire film. But his performance was probably the best thing that I loved about this. There was one scene that I enjoyed. It was destroyed by Zoe Saldana singing, but it was one scene that I actually did like, and I will give them props for this scene. I just wish that it would have had Nina Simone's music and not hers, but again, we know why that happened. The scene was when Dr. Martin Luther King died, and it was showing basically Nina Simone's reaction to him getting killed, and it was very emotional. And I think that it was emotional only because I know her actual response to him dying through interviews, and I liked that scene. I hated that, you know, the song that she wrote for Dr. Martin Luther King was sung by Zoe, but other than that, it was a good scene, and I would give them props for that and only that. And the choice of Mike Epps to play Richard Pryor, who was only in the film, again, for about 57 seconds, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. Zoe Saldana, she tried, even though with her mannerisms, she tried with, you know, trying to capture Nina, but she missed the mark. Totally and completely. And not only did she... It boils down to these three things for this film. It boils down to these three things. Number one, Zoe Saldana should not have taken this role. Point blank period. I don't care if nobody else wanted to take it, nobody else looked good enough, nobody else could sing good enough. She should not have taken this. She should have turned it down. Number two, the story, the script written by Cynthia Mort was a false representation of Nina Simone. It wasn't who she was. It's not how her life went. It didn't help her legacy whatsoever. And number 3, it did not help to showcase Nina Simone's legacy. This entire film was about Nina Simone and the relationship basically that she had with her assistant, who was a gay man, played by David Oyelowo. I really don't see why their relationship was that significant that we had to concentrate on it, which is the reason why I don't get why this film was even made. Nobody cares about what happened between the two of them. Nobody cares. This film was completely terrible. I hated it. I actually cried at the end of it. Not because it was so sweet and warming. Not because it was so great. Not because it was a good biopic. I cried because I hated it. And I've never felt that way about a biopic ever before in my life. Every single biopic that I've ever watched, whether I liked the person or I didn't know the person, whatever, I've always wanted to research to find out more about them. Was it true? Did I want to listen to their lyrics? You know, what was so important about them? All of these things. And even though I know who Nina Simone was, and I love her so much, this movie turned me off. It was completely terrible. Like I said, I'm not going to give a grade for this film. I am simply ranting to get the feelings out that this film was terrible, and I'm so ashamed of Zoe Saldana. I'm so ashamed of Cynthia Mort, even though I really don't care for her anyway. I'm so ashamed of David Oyelowo for taking this role. The movie made no money. It's not going to make any money. People don't want to see it. Nobody's thrilled about it. Right now it holds a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes, as it should, because it was terrible. I'm sorry if I'm being angry, but like I said, you guys, Nina Simone was somebody who is so important to who I am, and I hated this film. I'm not going to suggest that anybody watches it. If you do watch it, that's great. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to know. I never ever want to see this film again, indulge in it, nothing. I don't care. I watched it so I could do this review and be fair with it, even though I'm still biased. And now it's over. Woosah. So, back to my regular stuff, because I'm not angry or mad anymore. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. I wore this shirt, because we're talking about blackness and it's so important. I love my blackness and I love yours too. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time right here on Black Girl Cinema.